Welcome to the Vision Profiles podcast. Join us, two dedicated Apple Vision Pro users, as we dive into everything from hardware and software to apps and the latest updates in the world of Apple Vision Pro. I'm Marty and a faculty member at Kent State University, podcaster, really big, avid Apple product fan.
And I'm Eric Bolden. I work in IT, but my interest is in finding interesting ways to share content. Currently, photography of plants, birds, and panoramic sequences.
We have a new guest, but first, Daniel. Daniel's drops in on us every couple of weeks and has got wonderful things to say. Daniel, introduce yourself a little bit.
Yep, Daniel Burkholder, a software engineer and technologist, currently engaged in generative AI and and AR and VR technologies.
And our guest this episode, really happy to have him here, is David Ginsburg of In Touch with iOS. And I was thinking about this, David, that thanks for being here tonight. And we want to hear about your experience after a couple of months. But I remembered when I was a kid, and I got an Atari, and I was the only one on my block that had an Atari. And I waited and waited and waited and wanted someone else to get an Atari so we could talk the same language. And it sort of feels like that as an adult in Apple Vision Pro. I found Eric, and now you've got yourself a Apple Vision Pro to talk about an experience. So tell us a little bit about yourself, David.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Marty, for having me. Appreciate it. I've been an IT professional for over 25 years now. I'm working at the same company. I do a lot of support as well as administration, a lot of troubleshooting. I'm pretty much a jack of all trades when it comes into the IT field. So I've got quite a bit extensive knowledge, more on the enterprise side of things. I've been very passionate about Apple for probably a lot less time than you are, Marty. I think it started like around 2006 when I finally got the bug. I got my first Mac at that point. So I haven't turned back at this point ever since. So I'm here for the duration. Then I got my first iPhone when there was the 3G, and I've had every single model ever since. So hence In Touch with iOS. Why I have become an avid fan of iPhone and iPad, primarily with that's what the concept of our podcast. My podcast is. That's been about 9 years now. So
yeah,
we've been going pretty strong
like
here.
300 and some episodes, which is pretty cool.
330, 30th episode. Yeah. So
and it's also, it's also neat that not only are you doing the podcast, but you're involved in a lot of interest in tech. I think when you said 2006, I think there must have been something in the water in 2006, because that's when I jumped ship around then from PC to Apple and haven't gone back.
Well, what influenced me on that one was because when they switched to Intel, I got at the tail end. I did get a used PowerBook G4. I had that. That was technically was the first Mac, but really my first actual official Mac, new one, was the white MacBook. That was my very first Mac.
That's nice.
Yeah, somebody loaned me a PowerBook so I could do a enhanced podcast, because I had started doing podcasts back then, and I wanted to do an enhanced one. And my first Mac was the black Mac. It came out around
same basic
time.
model, just different color.
Yeah. So what's your experience like now with this new device and new platform?
Yeah, the Vision Pro. I'll kind of give a background. I was dabbling in it. I was kind of envious of you when you guys got it, and you started playing around with it, and then you inspired me once you started your podcast here that it was something I really wanted to dive into. It's it's a bit of a commitment because it is a large investment. So kind of twisted my wife's arm a little bit, and she kind of surprised me. We go into the Apple store thinking we're just going to do something, and I don't know, she wanted to buy an accessory or something. I said, I need a case, and we're going to buy the Vision Pro for you. Like, okay, wow, okay, cool. I kept wanting to do it for a bit here. Again, I was on the fence with it because it is a first gen product, and I had not bought first gen. I didn't buy the first iPhone, so but I went to second iPhone, and then I've been there ever since. So, but I mean, I think VR, AI, a lot of this technology is so fascinating that I wanted to jump into it. So, as far as experience goes, so far with it, I mean, I think I believe I have to go look back and look when my purchase date is, but I think it's probably about a month and a half, maybe. As you remember, I was asking, I was having that struggle, putting the hand up to moving my eyes to bring the menu up to go in and pinch it so I can get into the control center. And I had a heck of a time doing it because not realizing finally, after about 2 or 3 weeks, I finally realizing that it's watching my eyes, because even when you put your passcode in, you just look at the number and look up and down and move your eyes. Don't move your head and move your eyes. And so I've gotten a lot more used to it. So it is a little disappointing as far as dedicated apps. You've had discussions before, like I wish YouTube would give in and put an app out there, especially YouTube TV would be kind of fun. So it's a site I'm a subscriber to YouTube TV. It's nice to have some of the other streaming services that are offering it, like HBO Max and Disney Plus and a few of the other streaming services. But yeah, it's been a really great experience so far watching movies. I mean, yeah, it's hard. You could go in and spend an hour watching something, and after time, it starts to give you a little bit of a headache. You're starting to say, hey, I need to take a little bit of a break, so I got to loosen it up a little bit, because you want to tighten it down, pretty well, because you want to seal it in and have a good experience with the lighting and the focus and not it jumping around on you and stuff. And that's what I was experiencing at first, but I'm used to it now. Just like you're having to move it up to make sure it's aligning with your eyes, because I have it set for the eye recognitions for logging in. And so far that was it. And then I know we'll talk about Vision. The Vision OS just was released as we're recording this 2.2. I can hold my thoughts on that when we get into that part. But I even at first with being able to have a virtual Mac was pretty amazing in itself. I thought that was a really cool thing to be able to go into virtual mode on your Mac and being able to have that very incredibly large screen. I'm looking at a 32-inch screen now, which is big, I think, and I've been pretty happy with it's a Samsung display, and I've been pretty happy with it. But this could potentially be, a good experience with a Mac with using the Vision Pro. I think it's got a bit of ways to go, but I find that really cool as well. And to see Apple, of course, releasing some content with spatial video. My mind's losing at that last movie that just released with the World War II submarine. Submerged, yeah, that was an absolutely amazing movie, and that really gave me excitement as far as how video is going to be on this device. Just that alone, I mean, my God, you're looking at their skin, you're looking at their face. When the guy gets out of his bunk, it's like, man, it's such a fascinating way of looking at the world with that type of view, and you almost making you feel like I was on that submarine, and many of the other demos that Apple did when they had it, I took a little time before I went to the Apple Store and did their 20-minute demo, and I was fascinated, but I was still not sold because it's, again, that price tag is can bite you. So, but that's pretty much where I've been at as far as my experience so far. I think we got a bit of ways to go to seeing what Apple's going to do with this device. They're all in with this. It's obvious, with the advent of Apple Intelligence and the virtualization, spatial video, spatial audio, working with the iPhone. So I'm really I'm excited to see where it goes next.
Yeah. I'm going to ask Eric or Daniel if you have any questions for Dave, curiosities.
I think I'm still digesting the initial bit.
I went fast.
It seems that everybody has like one or two like media types or features with the Apple Vision that are like the killer features or the thing that they really, really are enjoying. So what is it for you?
Or aside to that question too, did you have anything in mind going into it that you wanted to do?
I think video was probably the first thing I wanted to experience, and I think that's pretty obvious for a lot of people, I would assume. So that that in itself I wanted to try right away, which I did. And it's unfortunate that there's just not a lot of developers out there that have some. I want to explore all the apps now, because you go into the App Store and you look and see what's new, and it's kind of just disappointing, honestly, that there isn't a lot out there that has been developed just yet. But again, it's a 1.0 platform. They're going through it pretty deeply. They got to just kind of entice these developers to come up with this stuff. I mean, I think a lot of them have already come up with them, and again, not all the streaming services are offering anything yet. So you can use the web browser. I just used the web browser on the Mac to be able to see like YouTube TV and stuff, but there's still some work in progress, even with the video being able to keep up doing it on the Mac. When you use the Safari browser on the Vision Pro, it's a pretty good experience, but it's not great.
So I'm thinking about, what would you like to have? You said there are some apps I wish that were still there, or will there. What would be there? What
with we obviously are, we're doing Zoom here. We're using we're having conferences. I'd like to see more enhancements with that. I don't like that persona that they have right now. I think that's got a lot of work to do, because you look like even when I've did it with my wife doing FaceTime, it's like, oh my God, you look like a crazy man with the way the persona looks. But I'd like to see how it goes with like Microsoft Teams, which I use with work, and with Zoom, and having some experiences in having conferences. When you're having meetings like we are now, in case of us doing a podcast here, but to see what the experience it would be, using those types of tools and services that has that. Doing Microsoft products, like Microsoft 365. That's going to be tough. It's, if you're doing a spreadsheet on the Vision Pro, might be a little bit of an ask. Same thing if it was a Word document or PowerPoint presentation. A PowerPoint, or even in our case, Keynote, which I would rather use, but again, because I work in the enterprise, I have to be versed on both. Well, probably one in their case, but I think we got some great opportunities with the presentation software, where you can really develop some great presentations and get some good virtual type feeling when you're seeing a presentation. When it comes to that, many companies, mine included, when we're doing live events, whether a big important person is speaking, or you want to be able to feel even more that you're there in experiencing the event, because a lot of times you have a speaker, and there's going to be a large audience, and you want to get that experience. Every day we all sit in meetings, whether it be a Teams meeting or a WebEx meeting or any of these types of services. And it's like, oh God, I'm just sitting at the screen, and you're just sitting and watching that person talk, and then you see that. And Microsoft's doing it right now, where they've got the experience, especially with Microsoft Teams room devices, because I support those in conference rooms. What happens is, when we're sitting in that room with the Microsoft Teams room, because we don't have to use a laptop or any other device. It's just to walk up to the device that's sitting on the table, you connect, and you have a meeting. It's zooming in on each person as they speak, and it's doing it within Teams. We don't see it, when it's happening on our screen when we're in the room, but that's where I want to see what Vision Pro can do to giving you that pretty enhanced experience when it comes to that. I think with the Vision Pro coming up with a real life view of us, having a camera, even though you have the headset on your face, put a camera. Have it. There's got to be some way where they can actually have a view of your face, and just like it's real life. So I think Apple has a bit to go when it comes to that.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little more plug for your show. It is live on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time, and you can find what
7 p.m.
7
Central.
p.m. Yeah, Central.
8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, I got the time zone correct. And you can find it on YouTube. just by looking for the channel In Touch with iOS. You can see the live stream of it, and of course, Dave also has podcast version of it, and so you can go back and get it that way if you miss it any other way. And we'll talk about it again as the show goes on. I put together some show notes. Eric, did you have something?
Oh, I just had another question on the Vision Pro, and that is, do you use it primarily in one spot or in more than one spot?
I haven't taken. I probably should take it out of this office. I haven't done that yet because I just been. I've got that Etsy stand that I got Marty to buy from that holds the Vision Pro on the stand right behind me here. So it's nice because I bought the Apple case and I'm not a huge fan of that case. It's kind of that big puffy bubble that it is. And I know there's some other cases out there that look nice too, but I'm okay with what I haven't really traveled with it much. At the times I might take it to we have a lake house and I'd bring it with me so I could. So I did do it. I did use it there. So I did take it with me, and besides being here in my office here, I don't want to be that crazy person that's walking around with it on your head, and you shouldn't be walking around with it. you go sit down somewhere, you put it on, and then get the experience. Because there's some crazy people out there outside and walking around, and you can see, but it really impairs your peripheral vision, and you can probably fall pretty easy. I already have enough problems with that, so I don't need to enhance it. So I think so far it's just been the experience here. It'd be good. I think the experience too is you want to be in a room that's got more of a bigger blank wall that you aren't, because I'm sitting here and I look up. I got a window here. There's not much of a room here. I can move over to my right here, and I've had it up in front. It's been okay, and the lighting in this room is great, so it doesn't really hurt it too much. But that's probably about the experience I have.
And then what about content? Do you have any content that is your personal content, either panoramic images or spatial stills or spatial video?
You always inspire me, Eric, because all the your photos at your backgrounds every week we see on Mac Voices Live and what you're showing tonight with your birds and such. I need to do more of that with my iPhone 16 Pro Max. I upgrade the iPhone every year, so I'm always going to have the latest and greatest. So I need to do that more. I haven't really delved into that too much as of yet, but I need to do more of that. I agree with you.
Well, if you get a chance, one of the times when you go out to eat, if you get a really nice presentation on a plate, do a spatial still or a spatial video and spin the plate around and then come back later and watch it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It is a good idea. Yeah,
I have some really nice desserts.
I can imagine. I got to do more of that. I agree. That's one of the biggest things that the Vision Pro has is just having an iPhone that can do do that. But I know I started playing with this a little bit. I haven't done a lot of it, but you can take videos with the Vision Pro too. I just don't know how. It seems kind of I'm not so comfortable doing that because again, you don't want to be walking around and using it as your recording device and then bumping into a wall or something.
Well, just a reminder, you can follow us on the live stream on YouTube at youtube.com/@visionprofiles here on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Or you can catch the video later or the audio in your podcatcher service. And Cletus is on, and he said that the surprise for him were videos, but he really wanted gaming. And I don't think it's become, I don't know, Daniel, has it become a gaming device yet?
I mean, not VR games yet, though the Kickstarter for the Surreal Touch controllers finally went through. So maybe in December, I'll be saying something different, hopefully. But I mean, I still enjoy just playing regular flat games in it. I was just playing Cyberpunk 2077 earlier. I mean, that's really convenient. Having a portable 80-inch OLED theater, anywhere I am, can't beat that. Especially since that is technically the best screen I have in my house.
For most people.
I got charged for the Kickstarter too. Daniel. So thank you for spending some of my money.
You're welcome. That's my favorite thing to do, spend other people's money.
I mean, I like the solitaire game that I play, the from Apple Arcade, the one that's very popular, the one I have. I've been playing it forever. I mean, I'm addicted to it. I just want to keep going, so I get the the continuous streak. I think I have 26 days of straight of playing, because you get those every day. I did play it on the Vision Pro, and it wasn't bad. I mean, it's kind of cool. You can do the pinching and the moving the cards and all that. But yeah, I mean, there's probably some other games beyond that you wish were on the Vision Pro that would be fun. But again, yeah, you're limited when you're moving your hands and fingers to try to simulate a joystick. I mean, I'm not a gamer by any means, so I'm not one to really say much about that. But yeah, I think that's a good way to have some opportunities of interacting with Vision Pro.
Have you tried connecting to a Mac yet?
Yes, I did do this the Mac Virtual Display.
And what do you think of it?
Yeah, I'm very impressed by it. So I was going to save my thoughts, but because of Vision, the 2.0, as far as 2.2, but I mean, I don't know if we want to move that, but
yeah, let's go to the beta. I mean, we'll start. I almost buried the news here. We've got some other news articles to chat about, but let's go ahead with the betas, because damned if I was going to have a beta come out. Because they always come out on Mondays, it seems like it for us, and I have to run to work, and I get back here to do the show, and I get informed the new beta's out. So, well, I paid attention to it, and I know David downloaded it, and I downloaded it. And did you download it, Eric?
I swore I wasn't going to go to the beta, but man, that screen was too much. I had to.
That's why I did it too.
It is so nice.
we finally have pulled Eric back to the developer betas. And Daniel, anything yet with you on yours?
Oh yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm freaking out. I'm so freaking out. I'm gonna put, because you need the beta of Sequoia 5.2. And I'm going to be real crazy and install that on my work machine tomorrow. I need it that bad in my life.
Careful.
I did it on my personal earlier today, and I'm just so cool. And I'm teasing my friend who used to have the Samsung G9, the 49-inch ultrawide, whatever. I'm like, dude, I have a portable one now.
That's right.
So let's get impressions. What was it like? I'll start with mine, and y'all can riff off that. I had not used Virtual Display much at all. I know Eric was a regular user of it. Other people were. I've been watching a lot of Apple TV on my device, basically, and going in and doing some other stuff, but not Virtual Display. So I had to go and figure out how to do it. What the things are you need to do to set up, and we'll put the link in the show notes for folks who want to attempt to do this and have some information for you. But I got it set up, and when you take the screen and you just kind of stretch it a little bit, and it starts to curve around you, and you're like, whoa.
I was freaking out.
And so the other thing I thought was, and it might have just been because I hadn't looked into Virtual Display in a while, I thought the clarity was pretty good. I was in there trying to read basically I'd opened up a website that talked about how to use Virtual Display. And I generally keep my fonts really small in size, but it was still very clear. So that's my experience with it, and see how it continues in the future. Any other experiences or reactions? What was it like for you? Yeah,
I mean, I literally just tried it not even 30 minutes before the show. So, but yeah, I got that same experience with I'm stretching it out, and oh my God, it's a curved monitor here, and it's enormous. And I'm looking back and forth, and wow, you got some quite a perspective view with it. I really put some to the test. I opened up the browser on the Mac. I wanted to watch like something on YouTube TV, and it isn't keeping up quite yet. I mean, I have an M1 MacBook Pro that's running Sequoia 15.1, so I think that's a pretty good machine to have as far as horsepower goes, considering we're at M4s now. But the video would be completely paused and only audio, or I would make it a smaller screen, and you could see it was kind of jumpy. So that experience wasn't that great, but the experience of being on a web page and scanning the web pages, and even on YouTube itself, watching the videos in the regular size window was working great. I watched the Saturday Night Live bit. Was actually our Kamala Harris bit that was on Saturday. It was kind of fun to watch, and yeah, the video was clear, and it was nice. And I tried a couple other YouTube videos to get that experience. But the websites themselves, I thought it worked pretty well, and you're seeing your dock very easily and getting to other things. I didn't try. I was looking at my Parallels desktop. I should try that to see how Windows looks on it as well. And yeah, not that I should be looking at Windows, but I still have to live in that world, unfortunately, and that's why I stay on top of that when I have Parallels on my machine to experience Windows still. Try to avoid it though.
Same thing for me with the M1. Like, I swear it runs at like 50 FPS. Just like, it's just a little bit under, but compared to my M3 Max that I'm on right now, like, it's definitely different. And I was kind of afraid it wouldn't be able to support it, but if it's still supporting it, the ultra wide at 50 FPS, like, okay, fine, I'm happy. Sure, but one thing though I think is very glaring that I think a lot of Mac users may not be as familiar with, or perhaps now be introduced to how lacking it is in the Mac ecosystem, which is window management.
Yeah,
because with ultra wides, like I said that from my first one ever, I'm like, man, like thank God I use tiling window managers and all different kinds of wacky things, and so ultra wide is not going to be an issue for me because I'm keyboard shortcut everywhere around the world, making all my windows fly. But a lot of other people are probably going to be like, okay, this is great, but also, this is unmanageable to drag my windows around and get them all set up, which probably was some of the impetus for Stage Manager, but also who uses Stage Manager?
I, again, not knowing this and not knowing the Windows, how it resizes and reconnects. I tried to move windows around a smaller version of the Mac Visual Display, and I was trying to move a window over just to see how far I could get it over, and it snapped right into, half the screen. So that's, for me, going to get in the way if those kind of things happen automatically without my intention of them happening.
I just really enjoyed the brightness of the screen and the fact I could read all the text. So before the update, it was mostly okay. And kind of once I got used to it, I was okay. But it always felt like it was just on the edge of like I could read it. It was better than that, but and whatever they did seemed to have improved things just enough that it felt a little brighter and it felt clear. Now, oddly enough, I tried taking some screen snapshots, and the screen snapshots I got, I couldn't read anything. So that maybe will eventually have to get tweaked a bit. But I was enjoying it a lot, and because I swapped between a couple different machines, having a virtually really large display, it was so nice. I could remote into two different machines, have a couple different browser windows open, a PDF open, terminal window open, and then see everything all at the same time as different things were updating without having to swap between areas. So it's very nice.
So I feel like a bad teacher because I went to class knowing that this was released and really wanted to make sure that the beta did do the ultra wide on it. So I jumped into Reddit, and Reddit usually in the Apple Vision Pro subreddit is usually people complaining about when are we going to get ultra wide. So they were very happy today in general. Now, I'm sure there are going to be some people who are going to complain about some aspect of it, but it's really kind of nice to not have to put up with all the complaining about the ultra wide because it's finally here. I guess the projection is that we'll see the 2.2 out of beta sometime early December. So everybody will be able to get it, whether they're when it's out of beta.
Two other things that we hadn't mentioned about it too. The Mac audio pipes into the headset now, which is awesome. And it looks like you can do iPhone mirroring to the Mac simultaneously now while doing Mac Virtual Display, which you couldn't before. So that'd be cool. I haven't tried that because I literally just updated my other one too.
Yeah, I didn't try that.
Yeah.
Well, cool. We will have some articles. There have been articles when it came out, Mac Rumors article that we'll have a link to, and also a 9 to 5 Mac. Generally, when I do this, I go in to find out what's new. So I do some searching and do some scanning and ask it to tell me what's new. And there's a whole bunch of things that are developer related. Maybe Daniel will understand better than I, but I just really wanted to see it in print that Mac Virtual Display is available, at least on the release notes for Vision OS 2.2 for developers. So I don't know if I'll include all that in the links for the show. What happens is if I include the link to the developer release, the next time another release comes out, it just makes it null and void within the show. So,
Well, actually, usually it's the same thing. And actually, the developer release notes for this one, it's like 5 line, at least for the 2.2 beta.
well, I'll try and incorporate that stuff into this. Let's go back to news. Some things that came across this week that Apple announces a Vision Pro international expansion into 2 more countries. And so Korea, which is known for making Samsung, which I find interesting. It's expanding into Korea. It's also expanding in the United Arab Emirates. Any thoughts about that?
Well, I think Korea was a big get, because there's a lot of South Korea folks that out there that are really interested in this device. So I think Apple was smart in getting into that in that country. And of course, UAE, United Arab Emirates, I'm sure is going to. There were another country that probably a lot of wealthy people who live there who can afford the device, and both countries actually, and it is. I think was probably some good starts with these countries as it continues to expand. But that in itself is where the big thing is. Apple needs to expand this into other countries around the world. I mean, when it first came out, it was just in the U.S. and then getting over the U.S. and Canada, and then start expanding it across the world in the U.K. and other countries. It's not going to sell a ton, I don't think, but wealthy countries, maybe it will. Who knows? But
yeah, David, I agree with you. I thought about the idea that it was in Korea and UAE, and there are probably more people with disposable incomes that, and particularly a tech interest, that would lead to a good market for Apple, as good as it's going to get in terms of those countries. Any other ideas, folks? I guess it gets. It's pre-sale right now. So today, November 4th, is the date we're recording this. It went on pre-sale for availability on November 15th in both of those countries.
And if you think about it as, the Vision Pro really is a way of getting the ability to try out the technology as soon as possible. Every time they roll it out to another country, every time they add, more people that can purchase it, it's more people kind of getting a chance to get used to the concept and get ready for it. And it's really kind of letting everyone get ready for, a higher volume version without having to wait. And so every time they add another country, I'm happy to see it.
All right. Next article, 10 Fortune Global 500 companies have launched a Vision Pro app. This comes from bold-awards.com. And it's interesting, the things that they are covering and what countries are interested in this particular product, and not only what countries, what companies are interested. So you see in the list things like Walt Disney, Gucci, Red Bull, for other ones for professional or commercial use, like Siemens, Healthineers. I guess that's sort of, Siemens makes a lot of those large devices used in hospitals for gathering data. Right. And this was really focused on the idea that they can have 3D holograms of human anatomy that will come in handy for the work that they're doing within hospitals. and then Epic Systems, which is a medical frontline of operating theaters, not like movie theaters, but theaters in the operating room, including health records, and then other companies like KML Dutch, Royal Dutch Airlines using it for training around the engine shop app that they have, Porsche, and also the kind of things around sales training purposes. And they also have a Porsche race engineer app, which the engineers then work in different locations to be able to visualize car data in real time, bringing critical metrics. Box, which is a file sharing service that I have an account to. I'm not sure how much I use it, but yeah. They have introduced a content cloud solution for Vision Pro, which is pretty cool. Just some interesting companies that are in this. And some of the responses or comments that I read on this spoke about how it's not just the Fortune, that these 10, but almost all of the Fortune 500 companies are finding ways to look for enterprise apps that they can use with the device. So, every week or every other week, we hear the sky is falling and Apple Vision Pro is washed up. Yet you see companies really engaged in the product line. Any other reaction or comment on that?
I was really happy to see, I haven't had a chance to try it, but just trying to come up with ways to immersively share content, that I'm happy to see that, the being able to edit the content, being able to share the content, and any content that's big, so like the blueprint stuff that was mentioned before that, or medical records where you if your hands are gloved, you don't want to be going over and touching a keyboard and then coming back and doing something, so even for lab work, that could be useful as well. So it will be fun to kind of see what people come up with, but it's looking good.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head about engineering. Engineering company I work for is big in engineering. I'd like to see how they would be able to task this Vision Pro as a way of looking at the blueprints, looking at sketches, and looking at all that stuff that is what they have to spend time on is looking at on a screen. Whereas the Vision Pro is going to give them the immersed view of a blueprint and get the ideas when they're working on anything relating to the location and site, that they have that as a way of getting more immersed into it and doing a better job with it, frankly.
Yeah, and for my industry, you might have seen a big wall of phones behind me, but not just for these VoIP phone deployments. I have ideas around how we can use the technology to make some of that easier for people who are deployed. Even though our software is really intended to make sure you don't have to go out on site, but when that time you do need to go out on site, if we can utilize like AR to recognize and help troubleshoot and locate things, or help them get their deployment and all laid out right, that'd be really nice.
Well, with the app, if you got the phones there, I was just thinking about Teams Phone. That's a big thing in the corporate world right now. They're moving everything to Teams Phone. I've got the experience working with that, and boy, is it make a difference. And what reducing costs is the big thing with that too. But having any ways of even that being any virtualization, I haven't thought of anything yet when it comes to Teams Phone. But not having to have a physical device like you guys have there, because we have them too, and they're eventually going to go away because what's the point? Everybody's using it on, it's kind of virtual. You're using it within Teams, making phone calls and connecting with your Teams account. So,
and Cletus in the chat room says, I'm an electrician and almost every company I deal with is looking at how to use it in terms of Apple Vision Pro. So that's exciting.
Getting developers to develop something, whether it's on contracted or on staff with a company, that's the tough part.
Yeah, well, I think enterprise companies are either doing it in-house or most likely contracting folks who have some experience doing apps in Vision OS. So another story: Proton VPN launches a native Apple TV app and also adds Vision Pro support. And I think, Dave, actually, you brought this up on your show on Thursday, was the first I heard about it. And interesting idea that now we have VPN in terms of some protection on the Vision Pro.
Yeah,
Daniel? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
let's see.
you
Dan.
don't want to ask my opinion about VPNs because I hate VPNs. I hate them. And I'll even tell you just why real quick. It was recently. My partner uses NordVPN, and he had lost his phone a couple days ago, and we were looking all around for it, and it turned out the VPN was the cause that we couldn't activate lost mode, ping its location, make it make sound or anything. And I'm holding that phone in my hand with when we finally got it back. I'm holding that thing with full 5G everything, and then and we were going home. When we get home, you turn off that VPN, and all that stuff comes through. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And it just further fueled my hate for VPNs. They have uses and perfect use times and places to use them, but I don't like using them general. All the time, everything.
Fortunately, in the corporate world, you have to use it all the time, so there's no way around that.
That makes sense, though. That's the case. Isn't
fine. The moral of that story, Daniel, don't lose your phone?
Also true.
Okay. Dave, you have some more on this?
Yeah, I just want to say, the first thing we talked about last week was, okay, why do I need a VPN on a Vision Pro? I can understand you're going out to the internet. There might be something you want to protect, so it's secure. I think this is something new, and I don't think it's something that is going to sell me Proton and VPN. And there's plenty other bigger VPNs like Surfshark and ExpressVPN and a lot of those other more popular VPN services. But I just don't see it as a need for it being on the Vision Pro. I know it's extending from having it on your Mac or a PC or your iPad, your iPhone, but to influence it as far as having VPN on a Vision Pro doesn't interest me.
Probably most.
Well, without a VPN, content. What, Daniel?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's probably just more for streaming content, right? That's I
guess you want to use that. So if you want to watch the Star Trek that you can't watch on Netflix instead of Paramount Plus, I guess you could do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is if I'm using a VPN, then my boss thinks I'm in Chicago instead of sitting on my couch watching Star Trek on my Apple Vision Pro. Sure. And that in itself is worth the price. Any word on this, Eric?
I try and stay out of the whole VPN thing. Although I will say that the being able to share the screens of multiple devices, I find to be really useful. So I can leave my Apple Vision Pro not on a VPN, just have it there, take control of a computer that's VPN'd into work and a phone that's VPN'd into somewhere else, and I can see all of the different pieces. And I kind of get pieces of both worlds.
Cletus filling us in on some things that Siemens and Built are collaborating to provide electrical training for Apple Vision Pro using spatial computing. Training allows users to work with digital representations of electrical equipment in a physical space in front of them. So again, another application. I don't know. I mean, I'm an Express VPN. I don't want to say user, but I have it. And I use it sometimes when I travel, turn it on and turn it off, depending on what I'm doing. But I don't think this is going to make me switch over to Proton. See if other people get into that space. Dave, you were talking about solitaire. Now, this is a game that I can drink over. Backgammon. Okay. Backgammon this week was added to the game room on Apple Vision Pro. And interesting article. They talk about all of the different games that are available in terms of game room on Apple Vision Pro. Solitaire that Dave's playing, chess, hearts, yacht. I don't know yacht. Do you know yacht? Are they thinking Yahtzee? Yahtzee. Like a virtual Yahtzee? But they couldn't use Yahtzee. Sea Battle, checkers, and flip it. Now you've got backgammon, which takes me back to my college days. And I was much faster at making decisions then. Can you do these as a solo thing? Can you play against the machine?
I would think so. haven't tried it, but
I was imagining
Otherwise-
actually you walking around the table to play the other one and then go after on the other side.
Or just
yeah,
kind
and
of
this can be immersive.
rotate.
This can be immersive or pass through. So you can leave it on your own kitchen table, or you can do it on the beach in Bali, I guess, if you want to. I'll have to try that and see if I can lose to a machine since it's been a while.
I really like playing the games in pass through. It feels really good, and kind of still see what's going on and dodge the dog as it comes up to interfere with your game board. And the virtual games, I'm sorry to get sidetracked, but the virtual games where the dog jumps up in your lap and everything goes, have that problem.
Unless the game is incorporated like flipping the table mechanisms, and then your virtual hands
like,
flip over the virtual table.
Yeah.
yeah.
I want to try a puzzle, where I've got the pieces everywhere.
Yeah.
So the cat that reaches up and bats the pieces off the table, I can avoid that.
Yeah, there are some really good virtual puzzle games, by the way. Some of them in 2D-ish, and some of them in 3D that are just incredible. And, nice kind of zen place to go to in terms of doing that. Let's talk about Samsung. I don't know if you got through this article. It's in Tom's Guide. And again, we'll have the link posted for folks in Vision Pro in the on the podcast. I'm going to throw it in the chat room so Cletus can and anybody else can look along. It confirms that its Apple Vision Pro and MetaQuest 3 rival is coming in 2025. And then they don't seem to release much information about what it's going to be like, which makes me wonder whether or not it's really coming in 2025. Or if this was, we've got to put some news out on this because we're being left in the dust. This kind of news is always good for shareholders, etc. I was trying to think of, Daniel?
I was saying, I imagine we're going to see just a Samsung take on some of these, frankly, Chinese headsets that we've seen come out since the Vision Pro came out. Probably just a Samsung take on it, and I bet you more than likely, pretty sure Meta open source their OS of the Quest. They would actually probably be pretty silly to not go ahead and take advantage of that, which I bet they would do. Because I don't see them rolling their own. I mean, well, all those Chinese headsets did, so maybe, but I think that would be a mistake on their part.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether this is going to be something like Google Glass OS, and something ported over from that because they're in bed with Google on this thing, of course, or if it's going to be something like Chrome apps or a series of Chrome apps, almost like a Chromebook on your face. I just can't figure out what they're going to put out. And they talk about in the article how it's going to be, they're aiming for like $1,000 for the headset. So
Plausible.
What can it do? What can it do?
I'm sure you can watch video. And and it probably has some sort of pass through. So when you first turn it on, you can, see what's in the room around you. I guess it's nice to have this kind of announcement because it sort of validates the interest in Apple Vision Pro and related tools. I guess I don't have a lot of confidence it will come out and be fully complete and as wonderful as we might want it to be, but keeping the interest out there, I think is still worth it. If they can get a couple of hardware ideas or let everybody see a couple new things, that's all it really needs to do.
Yeah, if you have other companies spending money on their own devices, it kind of validates the time and R&D that you put into your device. I followed a link at the bottom of this article that was it was also in Tom's Guide. 3 ways Samsung's mixed reality headset could beat Apple Vision Pro. That's those are fighting words. Those are horse race words. And the 3 ways are better processor, and they talked about some version of Snapdragon, better battery, and then cheaper price. That was the extent of the speculation in that article. But Samsung's been talking about it for a while, and they just raised it back up again. But 2005 without any much of a lead in?
They must have they must be planning perhaps some innovative display technology. Because kind of in some respects, everything else is kind of solved. It's all around the displays that matter the most, that dictate pretty much everything else. So maybe that's why it would take extra long. And would also maybe explain, because like we've seen people can just spit out essentially the same thing pretty quick. So I think that's the only thing I can think of. And Samsung is good at displays.
Yeah, well, the thing they say in the article is an early report suggests an image sensor Samsung unveiled in December 2023 called the ISOCell version 931, which
Rolls
is
right
much
off the
better
tongue.
than the version 930 apparently. It's one better than the version 190. It's going to be the basis for the headset. The sensor works like the human eye, using a rolling shutter to expose all pixels to light at the same time. So that's what's out there at this point. You know, Apple didn't do a lot of lead up to Vision Pro. The 18 months they said, we're going to do this. And then it was speculation for a long time. And then they came out with it, almost to their detriment, because I don't think people nor developers are ready for what they came out with. But they kept it under tight wraps.
Well, and realistically, I don't think developers could build for it without seeing it. I mean, it just looks different than what you would visualize. Somebody describing an Apple Vision Pro to you is different from actually putting one on and trying it or taking a demo. So getting them out there and letting people see it, even if it's not quite ready yet, that was still worth it.
Well, you'll be happy to know that we have another head strap coming. This is an article under accessories. Apple will soon be selling a top head strap for Apple Vision Pro's Solo knit band. And I saw an edit to this article that said it actually went on sale today. That you can purchase it for $50, and I think it's a Belkin.
Yeah, it's Belkin.
And it's interesting. The article spoke about how it was basically, it looks remarkably like the strap across the head that you have on the, not on the Solo loop, but the multiple band. Like they took that out and clipped it on. So who knows? Any reaction?
Yeah, I don't use the strap, so it doesn't really affect me.
Yeah, not really in particular. I mean, wouldn't mind giving it a try, but I think still have to pull my probably the Anna Pro out from my hands to get me to switch.
You know, you and I disagree on that Anna Pro. I got version 1 of it, and I even brought it to MacStock for Eric to try, and it just doesn't fit my noggin.
You gonna try version 2?
I'm not going to give them more money just to find that out.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah. I mean, but I agreed with you that I don't think it does much if you have all the other seals on. So I pretty much go no light seal most of the time nowadays.
Yeah.
And that's about the only way I can do it, which is nice.
Well, I have the light seals on, and when I put the first version on, I could stick my fingers underneath between my head and the top of the thing. So either I have a flat head or it was not built for me. And then I felt like, did they not field test this enough? I don't think my head's that unique. And I saw other complaints along that same line. And then about a month later, they say, oh, you got to try the new Anna Pro 2. And it was like, no, I don't think so. I brought it to MacStock to say if it would work for Eric, he could just keep it because it wasn't going to do me any good. So I could send it to you, Daniel, if you'd like. You could have a version 1 and a version 2.
Well, then I'll have 2 version 1s.
Oh, you have a version 1. That's right.
Yeah. Version 2, that actually I think is going to come this month. The Kickstarter for that actually also cleared like a week or 2 ago.
Okay,
Well,
you want to talk what?
Oh, I was just going to say, being that I really like the dual loop band, I was happy to see the Belkin head strap because I think a lot of people like the broader band across the back are just missing the extra support over the head. So I might actually go order that and give it a try.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing only because I prefer the Solo loop, but after a while it kind of sags and it, you're doing the shift where you're pushing it up in the back and down in the front or up in the front and down in the back. And I'm back using the dual loop right now, and it always seems like either I have to loosen it so it drops down, or so it might be I might cough up the money to get this Belkin strap edition and see if that helps with solo loop.
I didn't like the dual loop because it's just the Velcro straps, which like on the solo, that twisty thing, far
Yeah.
superior. But at least then, if it was only the top one, I wouldn't expect I need to adjust that as much as the back one. So then I mean, I'd be willing to give it a shot too. But I think it's just because it's only the top, and then you can use the solo because doing the adjustment is just.
Okay, couple more, and then we'll get to some apps. Well, actually, just one more. Let's talk about Ming Chi Kuo. There was a series of articles that came out that were based on something Ming Chi said. Guess what? They're going to put out a new Apple Vision Pro with the M5 next year. So all of us really who spent $3,500 on it are going to get swamped with a new version, pretty much the same, but with an M5 chip in it. And that one kind of went away, and it turned into an article where there's going to be a cheaper version of it. So people were saying 2005 will have a new Vision Pro. And it's doubtful. If they do a chip upgrade on it, there's going to be a lot of initial purchase people are going to be upset with them. But then that changed to, well, they're pushing off the cheaper version of the headset to 2027. How do you guys respond to this?
I always question anything Ming Chi Kuo says. Honestly, Mark Gurman's more of a guy that I trust when it comes to Apple rumors. So I don't know. I mean, it just seems kind of crazy they would focus on something like that with an M5 processor and a Vision Pro that quickly, because this one is pretty good to what it does now. So
yeah. Well, they were saying Apple Intelligence. Can we do Apple Intelligence with what we have?
So I've heard that it's maybe we're going to be able to get a little bit out of it, but because we know that M2 is like pretty much maxed out almost all the time. Oh. But even if they did put in the M5, then Apple Intelligence, I don't know about you guys, but consumer AI use cases I think are pretty poor, and they would have to have some kind of justification to have that big horsepower bump. And I don't think it would be Apple Intelligence would be the justification unless they were doing something wild. And I think there's another story in here somewhere where, if they were doing something wild, like perhaps real time environment generation in 3D, like transforming your whole space in 3D real time. Okay, sure. Maybe we need to see that. Even a smidgen of that as a demo first with what we have now before we can be like, oh yeah, I want to get the M5 version for that.
You think it'll draw less power? Oh, sorry. Do you think it'll draw
Go
less?
ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
Will it draw less power? I mean, one would hope. But also at the same time, you're going to want to use it more since you do have that extra power. I mean, like for everything we do today, yeah, of course it would use less power, but then you're going to want to just push it more. But then I guess the question is like what I just said earlier, like what am I going to push it for to do? I guess I could get more battery life if the horsepower needs weren't there yet. I could get more battery life out of it, I suppose. I'm not sure.
Is it fair to say, Daniel, that you like you like VPNs just about as much as you like consumer use of AI at this point?
Oh yeah, I mean, hey, look, I love AI. Man. I love AI everything, but man, I am so sick of take this. Every other commercial is AI this, AI that, and I'm like, that is boring. But I get it why they're doing it. Also, have you seen some of these generated emoji and from photo pictures with iOS 18.2? I mean,
I am waiting. I am waiting to get accepted into the playground.
Let's just say, I hope you like Disney Pixar. I mean, we kind of saw all that coming from the previews too, but I mean, dang, they really went full Disney Pixar mode on it, and even then, it's going to be a fun gimmick for a week or two. I mean, if I had a newer phone, I would definitely have some fun with it for a while. But then, just like every other AI thing, unless you have a use case or you're some kind of professional, you're gonna burn out pretty quick. I would like to see more people using it for more general purpose stuff, but that's not where people are trying to advertise and push and suggest that people do. Like when somebody asks me a silly question, now it's not let me Google that for you, it's let me ChatGPT for that for you first. Like need do more of that, show more of that. But
So let's take a look at apps because we're running a little long here, but let's take a look at apps. I put a few in there for folks to look at. Day Ahead is a app that is simply, well, it's cheap. That's one thing. Inexpensive is what I should say. It is simply a app that gives you a bar that has a timeline for things that you're going to be doing broken up in that bar. So it kind of looks like with bubbles in it, and each bubble represents your time from your calendar that has been where you have things scheduled on your calendar. And you can click on those bubbles and get more information of it once you, of course, tie your calendars to that app. And there is a vertical line that kind of tells you where you are in your day and when things are coming up next. I don't know. I just thought about this. I don't know if I'm going to spend that many hours with my Vision Pro on where I'd make it to the next bubble. Usually it's going to be in between bubbles with it. It's $2.99 in terms of an app. Design is interesting. It's not something that'll get into the way of anything that you're doing, on the rest of your screen.
this is one of those ones where if there was far more object permanence with applications that I would love to have like little dashboards of widgets like this permanently affixed parts of my home.
Yeah.
Where I work often.
This is the one that I was fascinated by. I'm not sure I'm ready to pay the cost, which is Camo Studio. And it will allow you to put your persona down in the corner while you're streaming stuff. It'll let you put your spatial persona in there, and it has various shapes with it. So you can be in a little circle, you can be in a little square, sort of like, I don't know if you remember that app or that platform for that's used on, it's a add-on for Zoom where you can do some things with the environment if you have and it lets you put together scenes and do different kinds of things in terms of enhancements and adjustments. Dave, any of this look interesting?
Not for Vision Pro because I'm not a fan of the personas. I mean, I'm a license holder of Camo Studio. I think it's an amazing application. I paid for the lifetime license. I bought it right when it came out a couple of years ago. So, and that's my lower third here is from Camo Studio. So, so it's a pretty amazing product in itself. And in fact, the CEO reached out to me and gave me the advanced access to beta test some of their stuff from when they came out, the new version of Camo Studio. So really great product, but I think it's a long way to go for Vision Pro.
So I haven't looked at this in terms of outside of Vision Pro. So I'll ask you, what kind of things can it do outside of Vision Pro?
Basically, I mean, I'm looking at the app now. It gives you focus commands. You have resolution for frame rates. You have control. You have a lot more control. These overlay and watermarks, that's what I have with my with my lower third. You can do all kinds of different things and customize it and put in all kinds of different things in here. You can do it if you just want to do a watermark. You can do an overlay. This is an overlay what I've got. But it's got more granular controls of image enhancements, including adjusting of backgrounds, the spotlight filters, image adjustments. All your white balance and colors you got some good granular stuff. You can even zoom. You're on Zoom right now. Ooh.
How neat.
And it allows you to be able to zoom that. But then of course I just did that and messed it up. But so I'll have to move my camera here because also I'm using Insta360 software too. So I'm kind of using both here. So. But the framing and the zoom is kind of cool, and You can and rotation. So there's a lot of customizations and things that you have, but you got a lot of great control over it. It also works on the iPad as well as the iPhone.
And I wonder if this is a package deal. If you get a license for,
I think it is,
iPad or on your Mac, whether you can use it on any device for the price.
You have the link to the app here. I believe it shows that it's or both. Yeah, because this version, it is because it's part of your license. Because I have the license for iPad. Because iPad's amazing because it's got a lot more stuff you can do on your iPad, more visual adjustments and shots, multi cams. So this is designed specifically for the iPad, but they added the Apple Vision support as well.
Okay. Couple more apps. And I bring back Vimeo again this week because between Dave and Eric and myself, we did some attempted sharing of videos through Vimeo and with mixed results. Eric, do you want to start on this one?
I watched yours, and then I also tried to upload a couple, and what I was finding is the original video, the depth on it and everything was pretty good, but with whatever they're doing with the compression, it almost looked like it was slightly out of sync. There wasn't enough detail to convince my eyes that it was the spatial video, or at least it was correctly done spatial video. I haven't had a chance to go and look at their demo. Maybe the tolerances are a little bit tighter, where it has to be a better quality video to start with to allow it to get compressed before it's uploaded. Maybe there'll be a way to upload it and not have that extra compression. I'm not sure. I mean, it's new enough that it wouldn't surprise me if changes are needed, but I found it didn't really work for me.
Yeah, I sent you a video of me walking under my backyard trees, and there's lots of different layers in that because I'm shooting through the trees, and you get some branches that are far off and some branches that are close up. And the end result in Vimeo was it cut all those pieces up like a jigsaw puzzle and then smashed them like somebody scattered them on a table. And I was disappointed. And I'll own the fact that I don't know what I'm doing with uploading video. And I first uploaded something that was compressed into MOV, and it didn't, or was compressed in some way, and it didn't have problems. And then I realized it also didn't have the spatial. And so trying to add the spatial component in. There's also a setting in it, I think it's in this, where you can, and I forget what the setting was, but when I click that setting on it, everything sort of straightened out a little bit. So I don't know. I think like you, it's got a ways to go. Dave or Daniel, have you played around with any spatial video?
A little bit, not much.
I have a bunch, and I've been meaning to try this. I should actually upload some and send it to you guys and to try it out, see.
Yeah. And then the last one is Spatial Cut. It's a video editor and has some up and down reviews on it. But the idea of being able to do spatial editing is what's attractive with this, and do it on your Vision Pro. This is made exclusively for the Vision Pro. So they're looking at an on-device editing with this.
Have you tried this one? Yeah. Have you tried this one before?
Have I tried this one before?
Yeah. Because I think I tried this a while ago, and I don't remember it doing I don't remember it working. So maybe they fixed it.
Yeah.
Well, it says in the description that be aware this is an early release. Please be aware of bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you go to the version history, they roll back to September 2024. Not too far, but they've been doing lots of tweaking with it since then.
Yeah, 1.0 on October 25th.
They finally came to a 1.0. So be on the lookout for that in terms of devices, in terms of things that you can do editing with. So that draws close to an end to the show. Remember, you can follow us on the live stream at youtube.com/@visionprofiles on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, or catch the video later on YouTube or the audio on any podcatcher service. Cletus joined us in the YouTube room and was posing some great questions. Where can folks find you? And you got anything exciting to come up?
You could find me at In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/intouchwithios. If all goes well, got Kelly Gomont coming on the show this week for In Touch with iOS. I'm on Mac Voices Live usually on Tuesday nights. Chuck is out of town this week, Chuck Joyner, so we'll miss him this week, but I'm on there. And then I'm also on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network on Fridays, usually, depending on my work schedule. We have a lot of fun on that show as well. And I'm on Mastodon. It's at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud.
Thanks for coming. I hope you'll join us again sometime in the future. Whenever you've got
anytime.
some free time and you can drop in, we'll just put you in as part of the panel. Daniel,
Anytime.
what's new in projects with you? Anything?
Phones. No,
You're done with
A lot of
hurricane
them.
cleanup?
done with hurricane cleanup. So they haven't come and cleaned up the county yet, but at least my stuff's done. Only had to cut down one tree. I mean, I don't know, not much really going on, not much exciting, just grinding, I suppose.
Apple pies and birthdays?
Yeah, I've got an appointment with a fork, a plate, a piece of pie, and some whipped cream, I think.
How old is your daughter?
20 something, 21.
You don't even know.
22. Well, I mean, it was just her birthday, so her age changed. It's like, I've been thinking, 21, 20. No. She had a birthday today, so yeah, 22.
So
I don't even remember how old I am. So
for listeners or viewers, Eric was making apple pies with his daughter before the show. And so I think he's going to enjoy some of those apple pies. I got my vision checked today, and guess what? They're changing my prescription. So guess what? That means I'm looking at new optical inserts from Zeiss. I haven't had them but a year, and I'll be sending in that admission. But the difficult time was they dilated my eyes, and I forget how that kind of pretty much knocks me out for the whole day. It's like, why go to work? So, I'll have clearer sight, and we'll try some new optical inserts. I had an interesting time trying to explain it to my optician, who's new. The other one retired, and I just got this person, and so I had to explain. It's this virtual headset, and it has Zeiss. They have Zeiss inserts. I'm like, yeah. So I don't know if you've had anything with that, any opportunities for inserts.
I think next time I go to that doctor, I should probably take it with me just in case.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. We'd love to hear from our listeners. If you have ideas or want to join in on an episode, email us at visionprofilespodcast@gmail.com. Our bumper music is Free Jazzy by Steve Combs, courtesy of the Free Music Archive. I'm doing a new show that I started. A second episode will be coming up in a couple of days. It's called Old Mac Gang. And those of you who've been with Apple user groups, some of those guys have been around since the HobbyKit days. And so we're having some fun talking about product software that is particularly relevant to folks over the age of 65, and some of the issues that come up. I presented a little bit on that at MacStock, and so I decided to kind of turn it into a podcast. So it's Old Mac Gang. You can find it on podcatchers. I record on Wednesday night at 9:00 on the YouTube channel, so you can find me there too. You can learn more about Vision Profile Podcast on our website, visionprofiles.net. And all of our available podcasts at thepodtalk.net. Spread the word to other visionaries. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.